All right, boom, we are live. What's up, everybody? Joshua Smith here with Jim Brown with another Forj live stream here. And today we want to talk about the importance of using your brain, using our own brains, the ability to go out there and critical think and so forth. And this is really spurred off of last week's topic. You know, when Jim and I were breaking down the importance of taking care of your health and paying attention to your health and we'll have a link below this, not right now during the live, but after the fact, if you want to go back and watch that, if you guys missed that one. But again, this is such an important topic, man, because so often, especially more now today than ever, because what do we do, man? We go on social media, we hear everybody's opinion, right? You go on the news, you hear everybody's opinion. And this is not this episode or any of the shit that we do isn't, we're not going to be talking politics. We're not talking any of that BS, but it is important in all aspects of life to come up with your own truth, if you will, on what works for you and what makes sense for you and anything. And I know that we're, at least on this show, a little bit more heavy into the health and fitness stuff, but that holds true too, again, because people will give you their opinions. They'll talk about, this specific diet or this specific way, this specific workout is the best workout. Now that might be true for them, right? Like you got to figure out what works for you and so forth. So, Jim, with that, man, because, man, it is a busy world, dude. And I think one of the most common questions that we get with people reaching out to us privately or here on the show, dude, is, what do you think about this diet? I heard that this is the best. What do you think about this, thing over there? And there is, like, we got to figure out what works individually for ourselves. So, how has this served you? And like, what are your, I don't know, tips, thoughts, whatever?
Well, as far as nutrition goes, man, I consider myself pretty well versed, and the way that I got there is experience and troubleshooting and trying, by trial and error, every type of modality and way of eating, to serve my goals. And especially if you go on something like Twitter, so many people are like low carb or carnivore or this or that, and they're so dogmatic in their thinking, they're so locked into that way of thinking. It really shows me that they're naive in the space, and either that or they're trying to sell something, right? Because really, if you have a good handle on nutrition and physiology and enough experience, practical experience, that there's a multitude of ways to accomplishing a goal. Say if you have a guy that wants to, you just want to lose body fat. Well, there's 18 different ways to go about it. You don't have to do low carb. You don't have to do, low protein. You don't have to do veganism or whatever it is. And really, the only way that I've gotten to where I have like I said, a pretty good understanding of this space is that I've run all those experiments on myself. And so I've done everything except for strict vegan, because at the time when I was experimenting and pushing myself, into these areas with my body, the only protein powder that was available tasted like absolute crap. I think we had pea protein and something else, and I just wasn't going to do it. That being said, everything that I've tried has been trial and error, kind of dig into whatever it was, whether it be keto, whatever, try to vet my sources, get a well-rounded kind of picture of how people that are doing it in that particular method successful, and then come up with experiments and try it for myself. And I encourage people to do that. That's, one of the ways that I help people. I don't just write a program for you, like most people, especially bodybuilding coaches, you hire them to put you on a diet, and you get this freaking carbon copy diet that's the same for everybody and everything. That's not something that I'm interested in doing. Anybody that I've ever worked with, we start from basically, what foods work well in you, and we start from the scratch, from the basics. We're not really heading in a particular way of, oh, it's going to be keto. Oh, it's going to be low carb. Oh, it's going to be this. It's going to be that. You're going to no processed foods or no sugar, all this other crap. It could be, we start out by defining what foods work for well in your body, and then putting something together based on your goals. And it could be, somebody wants to be vegan. It could be somebody hates eating chicken. It could be, this person knows that brown rice upsets their stomach, and they have something wrong with dairy that they can't digest it well. Okay, with being flexible and having enough knowledge about it, you can create anything and come up with something successful. I think any kind of methodology or plan. And the way to get there is, in my opinion, not listening to one just sole person, but experimenting for yourself. And, that includes me. I don't know everything. If you have something figured out, don't let me get in your head and steer you down the wrong path. But, experimenting with everything, that's the only way to really tell. And if you don't have somebody helping you, or you don't have somebody encouraging you to do that, I think you're going to be at a loss, because, eventually, that diet's going to slow down, or you're going to get stuck or something, and then you're going to be out of options. And that's because that certain line of thinking is going to limit you.
Yeah, man. I mean, people get so close-minded, and it may not be the case, but it seems like it's more so. Now that just might be amplified on what's going on, right? But there's, we got to be able to disagree with a concept and still entertain the idea, and then be able to critically think and then potentially test on our own. An example of that is when I first met you. Now my whole life. Growing up, my dad owned and operated gyms, and started working out at a decent, I started working out pretty hard at the age of, in my junior high ages and so forth. And with that experience that I had, though, to that point, it was, kind of that traditional bodybuilding, methodology, lower reps, heavier weight. And, so then, and I was sold on that, right? I was, okay, this is the best way. And then I meet you and introducing me into switching it up with higher reps and doing different things. And, I could have just been like, oh, no way, right? Like that's, whatever. But I chose to entertain it and then try it and test it. And, it's changed up. It was almost like, and there's been a lot of things with that after I met you but it was almost like I had to relearn everything I thought that I knew, but in order to do that, I had to be open to be able to entertain those concepts. Now, right. I want to ask and then I'll give my what I do on this too. But how do you, before you go out there and entertain something, how do you, number one, vet or make sure that wherever that concept's coming from, that person's legit? Right. You got to make sure you're taking advice from the right people, I guess, if you will. But then number two, how do you know if it's right for you? Because somebody might be saying something, but they have maybe totally different goals than you have. So you don't want to maybe waste time testing something potentially that doesn't align with, isn't congruent with the goals that you might have.
That's a good question, man. Difficult for me. It's easy. If I wanted to change or try something, try a different way of eating at this point, if I wanted to try something totally different that I wasn't familiar with, I guess I would vet that person by, physically speaking, reaching out to them, making sure that they're actually, representing, or this product or this information that they're giving out is in line with what I'm thinking it's going to do. Right. So if it's a bodybuilding diet, is this going to, how extreme is this? Is this going to put me in a massive deficit? What's the goal of this diet? And kind of vet with the person who created it. But I don't know. That's a tough one, man, because if you're just listening to somebody on Twitter, or you're seeing somebody on a podcast, it's real difficult, man, because most of the diets and most information is kind of guided towards one specific thing. Like, I'll give the example of the book that I helped write, The Metabolic Diet, right? That wasn't a diet that I use. I mean, I tested it. I tried to improve upon a way for fasting and guys that wanted to maintain and possibly gain muscle, but I don't do it. I tried it. I realized all the failure points, and then we continued to write it for a specific type of person and audience that I don't 100% agree with the methodology, but that was the product that we created. We were writing it for a specific market of people. And I think a lot of times you kind of might, get sold down the wrong road as well. And so I don't know. It's hard to vet people or information that way, but I'd be interested to hear what you say.
Yeah. So, for me, the big thing is Number one, I want to be very clear on what my goals are, and make sure that whatever this thing is congruent with my goals. And I'll just speak to business here, but this applies, to all things. But it's, let's just say it's before I go in and start entertaining and learning a new strategy to test that strategy. First, I need to make sure that, like, does that strategy make sense in my business? Like, even if it does work, does it make sense for my growth, for my model, what I'm trying to build? Then from there, man, I vet the person that I'm going to learn it from, like whoever I'm taking the advice from. Now, whether that's like, I will invest more time researching the book that I'm like researching books that I'm going to read than I will actually even reading the book, because I want to make sure that the author of that book is the right author for me to learn that topic from. Because why the fuck are we reading books? We're reading a damn book to go out there and learn and understand the concepts, and to add value and improve our skill sets and so forth. Well, I know that, at least in my experience, if somebody hasn't done it personally, I can't learn shit from that person. If they haven't done it personally and created the success I want to create, then I can't learn shit from that person. Right? I guess the example would be if somebody's telling you, oh, I mean, this diet's the best. Okay, well, like, look at them, right? What have they achieved with it? Is it really working for them? Are they where you are at? I mean, that's a very easy way to tell. So, like this morning, I hired a new agency. Working with a high level ad agency isn't it cheap. I'd pull out the credit card right there and drop 15 grand right there live on that call just to get started. And right. So my whole thing was, all right, all this sounds great. We spent an hour on the call with them. All this sounds great. But let me see for that agency owner. I'm like, dude, I want to see and vet your own, because it's not just I have clients that are doing this. What are you doing? Yeah, right. That was my question for the agency owners. Like, what are you doing? You're growing your agency, building your agency. Let me see your ad accounts, right? Let me see that you are because I'm trying to scale out a big front. So I had to go through and vet and be able to see and prove, with health and fitness, I can look at somebody and see if they've achieved the results I want to achieve, and maybe it's not always aesthetic, but, with that, but it might be a little bit easier to vet than, an expert in another realm. But I'm going to go out there and vet it. Like, I want to make sure, hey, if like my goal right now with Facebook ad spend is to get to $250,000 a month. I shouldn't say Facebook ad spend, online marketing ad spend. Okay, I want to make sure that they are spending that money and or exceeded that in their own business and have been able to scale that, plus have clients that they've been able then to show it to. Because it's one thing for, because sometimes you guys, people will go out there and get the results themselves, but they don't necessarily know how they're getting those results. So I see it all, especially more so probably in business. Well, I shouldn't say always in business, but but in business I see this a lot. People that again, they grow this great business, whatever it may be, but they don't truly know what it is. They haven't taken the time to reverse engineer, step by step what they are doing, and then testing things in certain ways to know what leads to those results. So yeah, they can continue to gain those results, but then they're not able to articulate and create a plan to get others to achieve those same results, because they don't necessarily really know why they get the results that they get, right? And there's a great book out there by our books, I should say, by Robert Cialdini that breaks this down, and why he goes undercover, if you will, in all of his human psychology, behavioral studies and books and so forth, right, to really break down, reverse engineer the process and the reasoning behind, success and so forth. So, yeah, vet it. I mean, but before I even get to the point of me vetting it, again, does this make sense? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm somebody's, go on this protocol, whatever, and they're an ultra marathon runner. Right. That's their goals is to go out there and compete in ultra marathons. Well, dude, I have no desire and probably never will run an ultra marathon, and I have no desire to do that. Life things change. I can't say I'll never have in the future, but as of right now, I have zero desire and zero plans to ever fucking do that. Right. Okay. Well, that thing that this person is telling me, is that a great thing for their goals and what they do? It doesn't mean that always can't be carry over to other goals. But first I want to vet, like, is it even worth my time to go through and test this and try this and learn from this? Yeah, right. So I'm going to do that first. Then from there, okay, I'm going to get some concepts from, the right people, the right minds to learn this stuff from. and then kind of come up with what I feel the best plan is after my research to go out there and test it and so forth. But you got to be able to entertain different. I think that this is, as a parent, I think about this a lot of okay, well, what is like I try as much as I can to not tell my kids that, hey, this is how something is. Right. Okay, maybe they might go get their teacher's opinion on something, or watch something and come up with their, hear an opinion from somebody else, and we're having a conversation about this, right? Then, I may give, of my opinion or an opposing opinion, but then I'm not telling them that this is the way it is. It's, what are your thoughts, right? And always encouraging them, like, look, you gotta, there is no reality. Right. Like there's going to be something that, this is, I guess that maybe a bad statement to use in that way, because that could be argued. But, when it comes to beliefs, if you will, right. This person might have this beliefs. The other person might have their beliefs, right. Like I'm going to hear both sides. And I do this. I know I said this about politics, but I'll use this as an example. Right. Okay. Like let's like I don't attach to any camp. I don't consider myself. I don't label myself in any political party, if you will, right? Because it's like, dude, I'm going to look at the issue, and then I want to hear lots of different opposing views of it and different scenarios of it, and then think and use my own damn brain and plug that into my own life circumstances and how that could be applied, and think through that. And then come up with my own personal belief that makes sense in my own mind from gathering opposing views and doing that due diligence and so forth. The great Jim Rohn, when he would do any seminars, he would always lead it off with, "Hey, be a student, not a follower." Right. Like come in here, learn, man. Like learn and take these concepts, whatever, and then think about it. Like right. And then from there, decide what you want to apply, what you want to take. Right. Just don't. Be a student, not a follower. I think that's just a brilliant way to put it.
Yeah, well said, man. I don't know if you remember when you told me you were going to try the vegan experiment.
Yeah.
Well, I tried not to say anything negative about it. I just said, let me know what your results were. Same thing, because I don't want to, when you've done that a couple times, hey, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that diet. What do you think? And I always try to not inject what, my thoughts are on it in the beginning, because, I want you to have, and I do this with everybody that can, I want you to run the experiment and come up with, see what works for you, and, what you learn from it. And then maybe at that point, if you have questions beyond that, then we can start, I might be able to share some experience and chime in a little bit. But, that could have been something that changed your whole life, and you were credible and you feel great, just being great with. So I do the same, man. I try not to inject too much of my negative, especially if it's negative. I don't want to say really anything about it. I'd rather that, that person run the experiment, other than maybe helping them design the experiment, and see what happens, because that's where the real growth is. When I have a client say, hey, I really want to try this diet, and here's why. What do you think? And then I try to come up with a scenario that we set up an experiment for them to try it, because otherwise, we're never going to know. It could be great. Even if I have a strong feeling that it's going to be, not a great fit or a failure. It's important for that person to go through it and experience, because you're always going to learn something from it. And that's more important than just getting something written down for you and follow it and it works. That's how you create a real, master of the subject. And so I think it's very important to do that with all things.
Yeah. And arguably more important today than ever before, because again, everybody's got their fucking opinions, dude. And and people are not shy about verbalizing their opinions. And I'm sure I do this too. And I've done this, whatever of, especially with social media, all this out there. It's, people go out there and vent and again, give their opinion, over and over and over. And again, it's those are just their opinions, man. You got to figure out what's right for you.
Well, and they may not even be their real opinions. I mean, social media is a monster that's fed by engagement, and negative engagement or negative responses, and getting people, pissed off and tribalized about a subject is the way that drives engagement. So if you're around social media long enough, or following the particular person that does this for a living, yeah, they're all over the place, but they're going wherever they can create outrage, and that is what drives that machine, the engagement machine. It's not like, oh yeah, wow, that guy really said something well. It's that gets way less engagement than something that pisses you off. And so it's very difficult to get a non-biased information on social media. I mean,
Yep.
anywhere, even when you Google something, Google's kind of a stacked deck too. You have to go to a kind of a, I guess a different type of search engine. I don't know what the non optimized for certain things, but if you go to DuckDuckGo versus Google, it's a whole different set of information that comes up first.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to get information at vet sources for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate this one point of, because like really, like, my recommendation is, and this hopefully will save you a lot of pain that it's not doing this created for me over my experience in this 39 years of life that I've had, but getting like being really clear on what your goal is, right? Like, and when I say goal, like whether that be goals that you have, health fitness goals, business goals, or whatever that goal for that thing is, like what is your use for this? Like as an example, let's just say I'm going to go out there and I'm looking to buy a new gun, and I go out there and I start Googling or wherever, what's the best gun? What's the best gun, the best handgun, the best pistol, the best 9mm, whatever in 2021? You start Google. Well, there's a lot of different reasons that maybe a specific gun is better for certain scenarios. Like, okay, if I'm looking for, just overall, if you go into Google, what's the best gun? Again, you're going to get a lot of different opposing opinions. Right. Well, somebody like, are you looking for something for, hunting? Or are you looking for something for home defense? Right. Are you, man, woman? Like, I mean, again, like, so it's, I've just used this example. I don't know why the gun thing popped in my head, but, okay, well, if I'm looking for a new gun, what's my goal with that gun? What am I going to use it for? How am I going to be using this? Like, what is the objective I'm trying to achieve here? Right. And then from there, then you can go out there and start doing your due diligence in your process. But then now you are able to, because like, to Jim's point of type it in Google, and let's just say that things weren't, being censored or blocked or whatever, with the platform that you're searching on online. Well, what you punch in that keyboard, right? The more specific you get with what you punch in, the more specific answers that you're going to get. As an example with this, now this is specific to guns, but this is something that I was just doing last night, is I'm looking to have a gun safe installed under the back seats of my truck. Right? Well, I could go in there and type in and start searching for what's the best, gun safe, under seat gun safe, for a pickup truck. Right. Or I could go in there and start typing in specifically my model, right. Well, I want one that also pulls out, that I don't have to flip up the seats to access. So I can access it from, turn around and access it, or I don't have to flip up those seats every time I need to get in and out, right. So now I can get more specific with what I'm looking for, and so forth. So again, just know what that goal and that objective is, because that allows you then to go out there and do your due diligence more effectively. And again, that due diligence is important, man. You guys, again, use your own minds, man. Think, I used to be so closed-minded in so many different things, and got to use our brains, man. We were given these brains for a reason.
That's true. It's hard to approach a situation or kind of an area like that where you want to learn or you have some goals that you want to achieve. It's really hard to approach it sometimes with a kind of a neutral mindset and, open and be willing to consider things that you haven't been considering before. And I'll leave, I know we're getting on time here, but I'll leave with this. I used to be a guy that thought carbs were bad. I used to think that I could eat unlimited fat calories and they wouldn't store the same as other type of calories in my body. And, I think that, to bring it back to nutrition again, I think a lot of people have gone through that and grown past it. But to have and believe all these things and then prove it, be around long enough and keep working at it to come to your senses or to evolve to the next level of knowledge. It takes hard work. You do have to work at it, and you do have to be not obsessed, but very driven to know all that you don't know, or try to, gain all the different viewpoints so that you can come up with a plan for yourself, or, start to become proficient in that area.
Yep. 100%. All right, guys. Well, we are out of time here, so we are going to go ahead and wrap this up. Those of you that are on here, that have been on here with us live, we truly appreciate you jumping on live. And as always, truly appreciate you guys watching. Checking this out. Check us out at forgelife.com, where you can check out our supplement company that Jim and I have. It's forgelife.com. Truly appreciate you guys. Keep crushing, keep kicking ass. We'll see you next time. Peace.